Welcome back to the Day's Explainer for July 21, 2026. Look, if you've been following the industry lately, you already know that the massive, multi-billion-dollar defensive moats of the tech world are facing totally unprecedented pressure. The data we're looking at today proves that the era of these giant, expensive legacy tech systems, it's officially under siege. They're being challenged by cheap, accessible, and radically powerful open-source technology. Today, we're going to look at the exact measurements driving this, from global financial market data down to the raw physical infrastructure constraints. It is an absolutely fascinating look at how the entire paradigm is shifting right beneath our feet.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to structure this around 4 clear pillars today. 1, cheap power, high stakes. 2, the hardware rebellion. 3, the vibe coding surge. And 4, regulatory chaos.
Starting with Section 1, cheap power, high stakes. We are looking at the brand new economics of AI capability here.
Okay, $25. Just $25. That tiny amount is the total cost of the computing power used by the GPT 5.6 Sol Ultra model to autonomously find a critical pre-auth remote code execution bug in WordPress. Security researchers over at Searchlight Cyber basically applied this frontier model directly to the problem. They instructed it to autonomously probe the architecture, and they allocated literally just $25 worth of compute time. The model independently mapped the logic, found the vulnerability, and executed the exploit. So for the cost of maybe a couple of lattes, this model cracked a platform that powers a massive chunk of the entire internet. You know, a platform you probably interact with every single day.
Now, I want you to contrast that $25 with this, $500,000. $500,000 is exactly what exploit brokers are paying for that exact same remote code execution vulnerability on the black market. This brilliantly illustrates a really dangerous new cyber gap. The cost of actually finding catastrophic vulnerabilities has practically plummeted to zero, but the market value of those exploits, still astronomical. And this application of frontier model-assisted research, well, it cuts both ways. On one hand, it completely democratizes defense. Companies can audit their own code for just pennies. But on the other hand, it arms offensive actors with the exact same capabilities.
And the application of these models isn't just stuck in cyberspace anymore, it's entering the physical world. Yang AI Lab just released a model called Inertia 1. Now this isn't a chatbot, it's what's called a motion foundation model. It was trained on a staggering 18 million hours of physical sensor data, so instead of predicting the next word in a sentence, it predicts and models physical systems and autonomous motion. It's an absolute breakthrough for the application of robotics.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds. The hardware rebellion. This is all about breaking the infrastructure lock-in.
We are witnessing a massive shift away from the standard reliance on Western Nvidia chips. Z.ai, you might know them by their former name Zitpoo, just brought a massive 1 gigawatt data center online to train its GLM models. But here's the absolutely critical measurement. It is powered entirely by Chinese chips. They are excluding Nvidia completely and relying solely on the Huawei stack. According to Bloomberg, this facility uses clusters of over 10,000 domestic chips each. This is honestly the clearest evidence we have to date that Chinese labs can now conduct frontier-level model training entirely on domestic silicon, rather than just relying on it for inference.
And this brings us to a really fascinating financial disconnect. Chip stocks actually just had their worst week since April. Why? Well, investors are staring at this planned $725 billion in capital expenditure for AI infrastructure, and they're starting to openly ask, what is that money actually buying? Especially when open-weight models like Kimi K3 are undercutting the need for these massive closed APIs. Meanwhile, you've got a startup called Infinity that just raised a mere $15 million to develop a universal alternative to Nvidia's CUDA software. They basically want to run AI on any chip, attempting to completely break the software lock-in that's supposedly justifying that massive $725 billion CapEx in the first place.
Moving right along to Section 3, the vibe coding surge. AI is now generating our software and our science.
And this is brilliantly illustrated by the latest Apple App Store submission numbers. Check this out. In all of 2025, there were 560,000 new apps submitted. But in just the first half of 2026, we've already hit that exact same number. 560,000. That is a 100% acceleration. This massive surge is being attributed directly to the use of AI coding tools. It's a trend a lot of people are calling vibe coding. It's allowing developers to basically generate fully functional software at breakneck speeds. It's actually gotten so crazy that it's forcing Apple to tighten its review and approval rules just to handle the sheer flood of new software.
And we are seeing this exact same explosion over in scientific research.
a rigorously calibrated study by unslop.run analyzed over 12,000 documents on arXiv. They found that about 32% of recent scientific publications contain explicit markers for AI-generated text. In computer science, that number peaks at an astonishing 65%, though interestingly, it remains near 0% in mathematics, so mathematicians are apparently holding the line. Now, just to be clear here, the authors do specify that an AI marker simply means the text sounds machine-written. It doesn't necessarily prove hidden AI authorship, but it undeniably shows just how deeply these tools are integrating into the daily workflows of global scientists.
All right, finally, Section 4, Regulatory Chaos. This is Washington scrambled to contain open weights.
We are seeing some massive turmoil right now inside the U.S. Center for AI Standards and Innovation, or CAISI. Now, this is the exact government body tasked with evaluating unreleased frontier models from the big players like OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and Anthropic. But they literally cannot keep a director in the chair. First, Colin Burns was selected, but he didn't even end up taking the seat. Then, Chris Fall resigned after just 3 months on the job. And now, NIST Director Arvind Raman has had to step in and take over temporarily. This is the second consecutive personnel crisis at the very agency that's supposed to be the front line of AI safety evaluation.
Because the regulatory pressure is absolutely about to hit a boiling point. With Kimi K3 releasing its highly capable open weights on July 27th, the administration is reportedly prepping a brand new executive order. But they're facing a really fascinating legal hurdle. You can't easily ban open source AI weights once they're out in the public because of First Amendment restrictions on free speech. So what's happening? The administration is focusing on alternate levers instead. They're looking specifically at federal procurement laws and 3 pending export control bills that are reportedly headed for the Senate: the AI Overwatch Act, the Match Act, and the Chip Security Act. This is huge because these specific workarounds will dictate exactly how the U.S. attempts to control the proliferation of this tech moving forward.
So the crucial point is, just how volatile is this ecosystem right now behind closed doors? Well, a recent report from The Hill, citing federal sources, claims that Anthropic was ordered to pull its latest Claude releases for over 2 weeks after Amazon raised cybersecurity concerns. Now, to be fair, we must treat this as a single-sourced, unconfirmed report for now. We are just reporting what's out there. But if it is verified, it highlights exactly why Washington is scrambling so hard. The underlying cybersecurity risks of these frontier models are triggering massive, immediate defensive reactions across the entire supply chain.
So what does this all mean? When you step back and look at all these measurements, a single, overarching narrative really emerges. When just $25 of compute can break a global platform like WordPress, and a mere $15 million startup can build software attempting to bypass a $725 billion physical infrastructure, you have to ask yourself, who truly holds the power in this new era of AI? The moats are breaking. The democratization of extreme capability is already here, and it is moving way faster than our institutions can track.
Thank you all so much for joining me today to unpack this massive shift in the tech landscape. If you want to keep making sense of these complex leaps in technology and stay ahead of the curve, you know what to do. Subscribe to AI Vanguard AI to stay at the cutting edge of industrial AI. And hey, if you found this synthesis valuable, please like, comment, and share this explainer with someone who needs to see it. Keep learning, keep focusing, and I will see you in the next explainer.